McClellan. This is my brother Ryan McClellan and my dad Dan. And special guest today in studio as well is Zeke.
I'll become the family psychiatrist at halftime.
Yeah. Dad's like, don't worry, it's really early. I'm like, what the heck is
Calm
going
down,
on today?
We're in the natty, baby.
I know I was in church when I seen the alert go off, and so I gave an extra hallelujah.
Yes, sir.
So we should feel very appreciative that he joined us today.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
It must be worth my time. And
You made such a big impact about your life with Jesus Christ and the way that you love God and the way you show it every day. And you're starting to see this, the younger generation that might have looked up to you when you played.
Yeah.
And now what they're doing with Ohio State just did, I'd like to just hear your
we
comment.
should all treat people like Danielle treats people.
Absolutely. Yeah, amen.
It would be a better place.
Hey, Mattcast family. I'm Ryan McClellan with Right Mark Roofing. We're a company grounded in faith, family, and service. We believe in doing honest work, treating people right, and showing up when it matters. Because that's what strong families and strong communities do. If your roof needs attention, I'd be honored to help. Feel free to email me or text me. My contact information will be listed below. Thank you and enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to the Mattcast. I'm Jason McClellan, joined as always by my brother Ryan. We got a family special guest in, Andy Mark Jr., longtime family friend of ours. He brings a lot of professionalism to the show. He actually went to school for this, did this professionally for a while, so hopefully he had some good banter for us and give us some pointers. We're glad to have him. And then Dad is back in the studio.
Back.
So glad to see him. Zeke. I know some of Zeke's back in the house. And some of the viewers were asking about where Zeke was. So it's good to be back. It's good to see everybody. It's good to have you join us again. Thanks again. We're going to dive right into it. A lot of stuff's going on. We're right in the middle of March Madness, or the beginning thereof. I think my bracket's pretty much already busted. I'm not sure about yours. I think Danielle told me last night it was in the bottom.
Yeah, but you took her. Didn't you take?
I got Duke winning it all.
Duke winning it all. I think you were the only one.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Me, Pat, and Andy.
Florida.
Andy took Florida.
Yeah.
You took.
I took Houston.
Okay, so I have it up on my phone. Who is who on here? That's obviously me with 380 points. Who's
Mom? That's Patty.
So your mom's second.
And I'm right underneath. I was.
So you're third. Okay,
I'm the bracket brains.
So the top three of us have
figured.
Florida, and then somebody took Houston, somebody took Alabama.
named the team when I was
I
in
took
first.
Houston.
So we're at least all alive. So there's that at least.
I started out in first two before the tournament started, and then
Before we started.
yeah.
But so far, both Florida and Houston, who we all took, had
Yeah.
a scare. Right
Yeah,
now,
they did, yeah.
right now, Duke they're up by 11 as we speak live.
Yeah.
And Flagg's looking pretty good with that ankle injury. He overcame. But it's still going to be a scary risk.
It's all right.
So, but yeah, it's. I guess who surprises you so far? Me personally, BYU. I think BYU is looking really good right now. They're sitting at that
Well,
6th
they
seed.
upset Wisconsin last night. They beat them by 10 or 12?
They only end up winning by 2.
Oh yeah, you're right. They came back at the end.
Wisconsin.
They had a good lead. But yeah,
They had a
right.
big lead on Wisconsin.
Wisconsin was able to make a run.
And we'll find out today between St. Mary's and Alabama who's going to play BYU. But BYU's been playing pretty strong. I really like the Big Ten. They were started off, 8-0, I think,
8-0.
the first day.
Wisconsin's the only loss.
And then, so far they're the only loss. Michigan had a great comeback win. They were actually down by, I think double digits at Texas A&M yesterday. End up crawling back. I know Micah was texting me, and he was like, dude, I'm sweating here. After I spent all weekend with him, and then all of a sudden he's like, I don't know how we did that. He's like, we decided to finally play. So that was really interesting to see. But who's your guys' dark horse? Who do you think, other than who you picked to win it, who could you see to win it that's in there? Arkansas right now just took down St. John's. That was a big win.
Arkansas didn't surprise me. Actually, that was a team to watch. And if you notice, it comes down to some games come down to coaches.
That's true.
And they got Calipari, right? That's how I pronounce his name.
Yeah, John Calipari.
Calipari.
Yeah, he's in Arkansas now.
Yeah.
It's funny
That's who
because
we're talking about.
not only did they get the upset, he beat Patino, who's at St. John's now. He had the whole scandal at Louisville. Then he went.
Right.
I forget where he went after that, but he didn't coach for a couple of years. Went to a smaller school. Then he's back at St. John. That's like the big university. Not a big university, but it's in New York, and they play in the Garden, and that was a big deal. They got a 2 seed, and then of course he upsets them again. said he hasn't beat him in the NCAA tournament since sometime in the 90s when they were
I didn't have that game. Was upset,
So,
though.
no, I don't think
I
anybody
picked
did.
I picked actually
Is that right?
Arkansas.
I think
Yeah.
it was like a consensus upset though amongst. Some
It
of the
would
people
be
I was seeing.
court. One thing I've noticed though about this particular
A 10 seed
tournament,
versus 2.
there's about 6 teams that are above the rest, and then there's everybody else. But
Yeah.
you're talking so close
Mm-hmm.
in
Yes.
talent, excluding the 16
That-
teams
yes,
that bottom
that upper
echelon.
echelon.
Probably shouldn't even have made the tournament. You know, there's been 40-point losses and stuff. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got to do better than that. Here you got West Virginia,
Mhm.
Ohio State was in the first 4 out, and you bring in teams like this out of this, these
Yeah.
smaller.
Well,
Don't get me wrong, everybody loves the idea of a Cinderella,
For sure.
but I think with these days with the NIL, Cinderellas was over.
Yeah. And those top 6 teams that you're talking about, they scored over 100 points in their first round matchups.
Yeah,
So that's actually an NCAA tournament record. So outside of those top 6, we got some exciting games.
Mm-hmm.
they're all, evenly good.
Yeah, McNeese.
Yeah,
McNeese,
that's-
my
that's probably
that's the upset. So far.
That's probably the one Cinderella team that probably made the biggest. Because then when you look at the rest of the bracket, who's still alive, Colorado State's still there at 12. I really want to say they're a Cinderella team. They play in a pretty premier conference compared to what McNeese probably did. So the talent that they're facing every day, is got to be quite higher tier, more of this March Madness caliber of teams than McNeese is probably. And sometimes that's why when they match up, if you look at Maryland played Grand Canyon. Now, Grand Canyon's had a great history of run there for the last, 10 years of making it. I can count just like 3 times at least. But Maryland beat them by 32 points. Then you start to see, is it the talent level in these bigger conferences when you look at it? Is that the big difference why these teams are so far more advanced going on to the next rounds compared to the Cinderella teams?
Yeah, I think I agree. But the other thing is, I think you have to realize too is, especially the SEC. I think it was 14 of the 16 teams in the SEC made it. So if you can't get money in the NIL and football in the SEC, now it's gone to the basketball schools.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Good
which
point.
You would think for the longest time, as many good athletes come out of the South and the SEC, you'd think they'd all go to football schools. Well, not anymore. Now, if you can't get it in football, you're going to get it in something.
Well, SEC has
So-
dominated the football.
Well, yeah, but
college
now
football
it's starting to
for a while,
turn.
so they had
now it's
time
starting
to
to turn to
sit back.
basketball. So
Yeah, but they had time to sit back and make improvements in their basketball program.
Oh yeah, exactly. You're right.
Because that commissioner of the SEC is aggressive,
Yeah.
and he wants to be out front.
Right.
And believe me, with the last 2 seasons losing the national championship to Big Ten teams, it's not setting well.
Yeah, this is true. Before we move on, just something to note, Reese's sister won a national championship in the women's NCAA basketball.
Really?
So he's trying, they're siblings. And so, he's trying to make his mark just like his sister, which I thought was a cool side point,
Yeah.
Not too many. I didn't realize that at all.
Who's he play for?
His sister's Julian Reese. He led Maryland to that 32-point win.
Maryland, that's right.
Yeah, that you're talking about over Grand Canyon. And his sister Angel Reese plays. Now she's in the WNBA,
Yeah.
but she had an NCAA title in 2023.
She played for LSU, right?
Angel Reese. I forget who she plays in
She's pretty good.
WNBA.
She had to,
Yeah.
her popularity though. She had to compete with Caitlin Clark.
Sure. Yeah.
Although if take Caitlin Clark out of the picture, she's probably the face of women's college basketball.
Yeah, she's definitely up there for sure. And I just thought it was kind of cool because now the brother's trying to.
Well,
Right.
The
they
sibling.
actually have another brother that won one. He played with UConn. There's another Reese relationship there
Okay.
that won an actual national championship. So it was Angel and then the other brother who played for UConn, I believe. I saw that exact same post
Okay.
today.
The standout player you're talking about family is Owe.
Owe?
Owe has a brother that plays for the Baltimore Ravens,
Oh, no way.
That's awesome.
That is pretty cool.
right?
Oh, you mean Jason Owe?
Yeah.
He was a D end. Is he on the Baltimore Ravens now?
Yeah,
I know he played at Penn State. I don't know where he is in the NFL.
Yeah, he's a
now.
Baltimore Raven.
I've heard his name.
For all the viewers at home, Andy Mark is a big
Penn
Penn
State.
State.
Actually, I think
Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh
Fan.
Steelers
I
fan.
think his name was Jason Owe. He might have changed his name to Odafe Owe or something like that.
Yeah.
I believe he changed his name at the NFL. Yeah.
What a shame because Jason's a fantastic name.
But
Hey,
I'll tell you
when
what.
you change your name, you can change your name. So.
I thought at first, well, maybe he was getting a shot because his brother was in the NFL. No, this dude's got some talent.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
He is good. He's probably just me. I'm not a huge basketball fan because I don't know a whole lot about it, and I don't like
The sneaker noise.
no. I don't like the officiating methods, anticipating calls, things like that, and so I'm not interested in basketball as much. But March Madness is awesome.
It is fun.
Speaking,
building on the officials.
yeah. Speaking of the officials, I had a video I seen. I don't know.
You shared it with me this morning. It was awesome.
It was a blowout. I can't remember the exact team. Jason can find it when I'm talking about it. But the game was going over. It was a blowout, and I think it was double digits for sure. The official saw the player was trying to get sub in. And it was like 59 seconds left remaining.
There was it was a 31-point lead.
Yeah.
And there was no way they were coming.
Yeah, there's no chance.
And they were trying to sub out. And so the official, I didn't mean to cut it.
No, you're good. Yeah, you're fine.
The official stopped the game to make it seem like he was cleaning up a wet spot on the floor.
Awesome.
And waved the guy in because, for an experience like that to play at that level, and to, especially being a bench guy, I can relate with that because you put in a lot of time and effort and you want to see your team succeed. But, of course, everybody wants to play a little bit.
You're a practice dummy, basically.
Yeah, but to be able to get that, but I thought it was a huge respect and a good shout out for compassion in the game and
was this in March Madness?
This was during the March Madness tournament.
I think the first round maybe.
Yeah, so it was good
that's
stuff.
Still awesome, man.
It's cool to see stuff like that when you see that there are people out there who still care about other people, and even if it had nothing really to do with the game, them winning it, or you said they were down by a bunch. Be able to let a kid go in and kind of even live his dream even a little bit.
Yeah.
Be in there is awesome, which is cool.
Think about all the hard work that kid put in.
That's exactly
that's
right.
really
Being
awesome.
a practice dummy, basically, and
That's
hoping
cool
to
stuff.
get his shot at some point.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you're happy with just being a part. Some of those practice guys never get their shot.
you should.
But it was an awesome opportunity to see those guys get it. And if I think there's a mindset there to be those kind of guys.
Rudy.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
If you don't,
If you don't know who Rudy is, definitely watch it, our young fans.
if you watch Rudy, that's the prime example of someone who took pride in being practice squad.
Yeah.
Taking up the practice defense. And
That whole we over me thing is probably what draws me to high school sports so much. Because I like to see kids learn that lesson. I like to see them do well. I like to see them score touchdowns and stuff like that. But I really enjoy seeing a young man or a young woman buy into others around them more than themselves. Because I feel that we live in a world that is already consumed with a lot of me. And it's an important lesson to learn in life because it opens a lot of doors.
Yeah, last thing I want to touch on before we go to the next segment. Are upsets good for the game in March Madness?
Yes.
Personally, I agree with Andy.
Yeah.
I love to see the Cinderellas. That's why I watched the March Madness. I know it's a little bit different in probably college football because of those premium teams are not bringing the money in probably. But I think at the end of the day, when you ask the question, are upsets good? You have to look at the fan base. I think most of the fan base who's watched college football or college basketball, March Madness, are putting it on their work laptops while they're working. A lot of people have their phone up while they're driving, or vice versa. I think people live to see that in March Madness because that's where the Cinderella story is really reachable, I believe.
Yeah, it keeps it watchable. It's always unpredictable. Everybody's bracket never does. Everybody's busted usually by a couple rounds. It's got a broader appeal to your casual basketball fans. They might tune in. Grandma might even watch it because she heard of this. So
that's why it's called March Madness. You never know what's going to happen. You very rarely get a 16 beat a 1 or 15 beat a 2. Or when you have the double-digit seeds beat the high ones, that's why it's awesome. That's the point of it. So you got 64 teams and you don't know what's going to happen.
You don't know. It's crazy madness, man.
If you don't have a dog in the fight, you like rooting for the underdog. Yeah, that's just the American way.
That's so true.
We like to root for underdogs when we don't have a dog in the fight,
and
it's exciting.
Us Browns fans,
yeah. Well, we're used to being that underdog.
Oh, except me. I'm not on.
Yes,
I'm not on that train. I'm on the Cleveland sports train, but not that train.
Yeah.
That train can fall off a cliff.
You're on an interesting train yourself, though.
Yeah, he's a Steeler fan.
You're on an interesting train over there.
Penguin
in
fan.
But I have
Cleveland Guardians fan.
But I have reasons.
In a Cleveland Cavs game.
When your dad's from Pittsburgh and you grow up in Ohio,
You got
It explains it.
and this
So-
area of Ohio. It's not uncommon
Exactly.
to have Steeler fans around here.
Oh no,
It
exactly.
helps when
So-
you have Steeler season tickets.
That does help a little bit
It does
too.
help. That is
Yeah.
And so his dad's kind of brainwashed
Yeah.
him from infancy.
I wouldn't know what that's
cool.
like.
That's not brainwashed. I'm just smart.
I wouldn't know what that's like. That's why
You
I'm
just
a
like
Browns.
winning.
That's why I'm a Browns fan.
Nah, I'm a hometown guy. I just follow
Let's
my
just stay
hometown teams. Cleveland's closer than Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So I go with the Cleveland teams.
Yeah, I
Even
know what you mean.
with the agony that I have to put up with throughout life.
Speaking of the Browns, Kenny Pickett. What's your thoughts? Let's just transition right into the NFL.
We brought him in just to give us all the info on the Steelers.
I love it.
Okay.
Andy Marks.
Okay. If you want
This is why I brought up this subject, because this is a great.
Yeah.
I'm interested to hear what you have to say.
Okay. If you want to know how Kenny is, which is funny because when they traded him I forget if it was the beginning of 23 or 24, they traded him in the offseason. They signed Russell Wilson first last year, and then he wanted traded because he's like, well, I don't want to have to compete with him, which is funny
Being a big
because,
baby about it.
because since they drafted him the 2 years they had him, Kenny had never did that. And he's not from, Pittsburgh, but he went to Pitt. He played in the stadium. He loved it there. He liked going to the university. He was there for 5 or 6 years because he was like kind of a super senior.
Did a fairly well job.
Yeah, and he was a good leader. He was accurate. He didn't have the biggest arm. He wasn't this, but he also made plays at the end of games, which is actually, in his 2 years as a Steelers quarterback,
He's done it.
he had several comeback wins at the end of the games.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't consistently putting up a ton of points, and he won't consistently run your offense and keep it, up and down the field. But Kenny doesn't turn the ball over either, so that's
He don't
part
like
of it.
throwing across the middle, does he?
I mean, their offense in general the last couple of years, whether it was Arthur Smith or Matt Canada, they don't throw over the middle very
So it
often.
was
I don't know why.
So you're
they
saying
just
it's the
don't.
coordinator more than the
Well,
quarterback.
some of it, but then Kenny, he's not the biggest guy either. But think of it this way: Kenny will keep you in the game, but he also won't. He won't win the game for you. He won't lose either because he doesn't turn the ball over very often, but he doesn't make a lot of big plays either.
So he's not the clear starter.
He's
but
brought in
he
to compete.
No, he could be a
is-
spot starter though,
he's-
but not
who
be
they're
the
bringing
answer.
in?
There's a difference.
Who are they going to bring in?
They're
What
talking
was said
Carson
behind?
Wentz.
Okay.
That's the talk of the town.
Something was said behind closed
Who?
doors.
Carson.
Carson Wentz.
Well, they
So
met
you
with,
want-
well, they
you
met
want
with
another-
Russell Wilson. They're talking about Carson Wentz, so yeah.
You want another washed up quarterback to come?
Whoa.
I don't
in?
know if Carson Wentz is washed up at all. I know that he.
The
Super
Browns
Bowl
would
caliber.
rather hold on to Deshaun Watson, hope that's still
They
hope.
don't have a choice. They got him under contract.
Okay,
Whether
but
he plays or not, they have to keep him on the roster.
That's-
for cap,
that's fine.
for money reasons.
But if you don't draft a quarterback this draft class,
There ain't one really worth it.
there is a bunch of them worth it.
Well,
Even
it's
if it's
a
not,
shot.
even if it's not in the first round,
They
you
said
might get
none of these
somebody.
quarterbacks this year would be above anybody that was drafted last year.
Not last year, but I would take two of those
You
quarterbacks over Carson Wentz
Yes.
and Kenny Pickett.
But
That's my starter.
Carson Wentz had a Super Bowl. He was with the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl. On top of that, he's such a charismatic leader.
Remember the Wentz wagon? He was
was
good.
baptizing teammates in the pools of the hotels on their away games. Like, this guy is not your average. He doesn't just
he's-
show up and play
He's a
quarterback.
backup now. But what happened to him in his career was when he won the Super Bowl, not the last one the Eagles won, most recently, a couple months ago, but the last time they won, 2018, 2019, he was a starter. He was playing well. They thought he was going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the
Yeah.
league. And then I think in a game in L.A., he tore his ACL, and then he was out. And then that's when the whole run with Nick Foles happened, why Nick Foles is now like a folk hero in Philadelphia. That's what happened. But since then, he's been injured, and he's just been a backup. He's hung around the league. But I know what you mean, because when he has played
He's just
recently, he's not.
He's
But
He's brought
I
in
don't
to
think they're-
compete with
yeah.
Kenny Pickett, so Kenny Pickett has somebody to compete
Yeah.
with, and he's a bridge quarterback.
yeah,
They are going to draft a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
It just depends on which one.
Yeah, you're not looking for
They're
me to
not-
be the answer.
so why have
They're saying-
why have 5 quarterbacks on the roster then?
5. Well, because you can have a practice squad, but Deshaun Watson's not going to be able to return from injury.
No, but he still takes a spot up. You're
No.
still, you're still,
Not on the active roster.
You're
What if it's IR, though?
well, you're
he's
still
on
paying
IR.
a quarterback, so you're going to pay 6 quarterbacks.
I mean, financially, they have to.
For
the
the-
draft one won't cost you much because they're going to take. I do believe they're going to take one in the later rounds. I don't believe
Who
they're
was the
gonna
one
take
Travis was talking
Well, think
about?
of it this-
Cam Ward or
No.
Dart.
Dart's later.
Dart will go second round.
Dart might not make it past Pittsburgh Steelers.
No. I've heard reports they kind of like him, but with signing Mason Rudolph and Mason at least being the backup, if not being the starter as of right now, and I like Mason Rudolph. I think he gets a bad rap. They're not going to draft him. They need a D lineman. Cam is 35 to 36 years old. Keanu Benton, their second or third year D tackle out of Wisconsin, is probably going to get moved to DN because he can play nose, but he's not 320. He's about 300 pounds. He's probably going to be the starting 3 technique. They either need a nose tackle, which, I mean, the way you play in the NFL, you don't always play that very often because, you know, how different formations are usually in passing situations. They need somebody to either come in at D tackle or kind of take his spot and rotate with them, but they need a D lineman in the first round. And they don't have a second rounder because I'm happy they got him, but they don't have a second round pick because they traded DK Metcalf to the Seahawks.
If they don't take Dart with that first round pick, they won't get one.
The Giants might
take one in the middle rounds. I don't want a quarterback in the first round, especially not one if you're going to reach. Which if they
I want Will Howard. I do.
Well,
it's somebody you can develop.
Well, that's different in the third or fourth round. You're not reaching for him in the first round. You're taking him where he should be drafted.
Right, in about the fourth round.
And Ryan's right. The guys in this draft probably weren't going to be drafted as the guys in the last one because they're not as talented. Ward's the only one who was even on the level of that, and he's still below the other guys.
It's Ward and everybody else.
Yeah.
Even Shedeur is not ready for the NFL.
I think he's ready for it, but he doesn't have the same skill set as high as the other ones. He's accurate, he's smart, but
NFL skill set.
Exactly.
My only point is, when you bring in a guy like Kenny Pickett, his first year with the Pittsburgh Steelers was not very good. He threw for 2,400 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions. What rookie quarterback you bring in now is going to do worse than that, or just the same?
No, you're not wrong.
Okay, you're drafting a rookie quarterback at a rookie contract. Okay?
Yeah.
Why bring in another experienced quarterback when you have 2 quarterbacks? When you could draft a quarterback in the draft for a rookie contract that could produce the exact same
That tells
stats.
me that they're going to bring in the 4th one, not the 5th, the 4th. They only have Kenny Pickett. He's the only quarterback.
No, you have DTR still.
No, DTR got traded.
He got traded to...
So he's gone and Jameis Winston's gone.
Yes, Jameis Winston signed with the New York Giants.
Oh, yeah, DTR got traded to Philly when they...
I'm glad to see my boy Jameis Winston find another team.
So,
not the Steelers.
Just so you got it in your head what the pecking order is. Right now, Kenny Pickett is your starting quarterback for the Cleveland.
Yeah, he's got
right now. But they want to bring in another experienced quarterback in that room so they have an experienced quarterback in the room and work with Kenny and the draft pick. So they're going to bring in somebody like Carson Wentz, somebody that can calm down the room, bring them some professionalism. This is how we do it. Kenny Pickett might be there already, but they want, specifically for Kenny Pickett alone, they want competition, somebody that he has to go up against. Surely he's going to beat Carson Wentz out, probably. But Carson Wentz will still be there for the experience and the comments. I'm not saying not him for sure. Yeah. That's just the rumor going around town.
Yeah.
And then they'll pick up a Dart or how you pronounce that other guy's name? Starts with an S, Sough or something.
I'm not sure.
Bring up the quarterbacks in the draft. Show.
Oh, Tyler Shook.
Shook.
What's his? No, what's
it's not CK,
the kid
but
from
it's
Louisville.
G-A.
I can't remember how to pronounce his
It
last
is
name.
Shook.
Yeah, is it Shook?
I'd almost see Milrow going higher than him, though. After Milrow's pro day he just had, he's going to be pretty good. He's going to go high, I think.
Milrow's only problem is his tape last year was kind of up and down because
he's
really talented, but he was just so inconsistent last year. But his tools are there, and his legs are so good, Even if he doesn't throw it great, if he throws it well enough and you use his legs in a spread offense in the NFL, but I don't think anybody's going to reach for him in the first, maybe into the second, third, or fourth.
Yeah. I didn't say first round. My only question
I know what you mean, but
my only question was if you're going to go and get these experienced quarterbacks, are you comfortable with getting a later quarterback in the draft?
Yes.
And if he becomes a bust,
what are you out? What are you out?
You're out. You're
out of late round picks, no loss.
Or do you go for you swing the bats and go for a home run like Cam Ward? You trade as much as you can to get a Cam Ward on there.
The only problem with the Browns is
Tyler Shough, by the way.
How do you pronounce it?
Shough. It's SHOUGH.
And where's he ranked at right now?
Maybe it is Shuff. Is it Shuff?
I thought it was.
I thought it shook.
I thought it was.
I think that GH is pronounced as CK.
Yeah,
I'm looking
yeah,
it
I
up
forget.
right now.
I
Let's
can't
see what
remember
old
how it's pronounced.
Gujal has to say.
They said his draft stock has gone up because
Way
his
up.
tape was pretty good the last 2 years. His only problem is, what is he, 26 years old?
But Will Howard's tape ain't good looking.
Oh no, I'm not saying that. I think Howard's
How do you pronounce it?
Shao.
Shao.
Tyler Shao.
Okay, so it's Tyler Shao.
Shao. So they got Will Howard at 6. By the way.
But shout out to Kyle McCord. They got him one step higher at 5, right? Kyle McCord.
Yeah, well, it just depends on what you're on. This is NFLDraftBuzz.com. Shout out to you. Just
Kyle McCord is right there around Will Howard. But hey, man, I want to refresh your memory of last year's draft. 2 years ago when C.J. Stroud came out and they said he was stupid. And he dropped the second instead of first. And look at the season that man had.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between the number 2 pick and the number 6 pick quarterback, though.
Well, that's not my point. The position they went. My point is,
I know what you mean. The
these
rankings
analysts will
between 1 and 6.
talk
Yeah,
down
there
certain
it is.
quarterbacks and make them lose draft stock. They keep telling me that what I keep hearing is that he doesn't have the skills necessary to transfer over to NFL. Okay, tell me what it is. What is it? He can't make the deep throw? Bullshit. He can make the deep throw. You've seen it. Look at the run he made, just the national championship playoff run.
mm-hmm.
That's all you got to watch. Big stage, pressure. That's high pressure. Trying to win a national championship.
I guess some analysts, they have a job to do.
Mm-hmm.
And their job is to report sometimes
They got to have something to talk about.
controversial stuff.
Yep.
So I think they do their best job at getting stuff stirred up because you're going to tune in. You're like, what is this guy talking about? So you're going to click. But I just happened to look up from the 2023 NFL draft. 4 quarterbacks that were drafted are actually starting quarterbacks in the NFL.
Starters.
C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, who's had injuries,
Yeah.
and Will Levis.
Which all 4 have proven that they are valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Valuable. CJ, I think, above all.
What about that was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years, yeah.
Last year's draft class, though.
Which kind of common for them to come out and be a starter in their first year.
Yeah, Bo Nix.
Bo Nix,
Williams,
Daniels,
and Daniels.
Williams and Daniels.
That I know off the top of my head.
And there's nobody in this draft that's that high talented. None. Cam Ward will come the closest, but his size, he's kind of short. He's not real tall.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, so in a 2-year span, out of the 14 quarterbacks that were drafted in 2023, only 4 of them are in a starting position in the NFL.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a hit and miss.
It's kind of a low percentage.
No, it is a hit and miss. I
A
know
lot of the lower ranked quarterbacks in the draft go to teams that they want to pay nothing for a backup.
Mhm.
Is what that is.
Yeah, or they want to give him a chance because they just want to try to develop him.
And then
There's
you can always
parts of
trade.
his- Yeah.
Trade bait. Yeah, I mean, there's so much involved in it, but
it's just
this bull crap.
It's like
What you tell
28%.
me? Why is Will Howard so lowly ranked? I just explain it.
I didn't hear.
Dan Orlowski said it's his hand size. He's got small hands.
I don't think it's-
We'll find out Wednesday. Wednesday's the Ohio State's pro day,
Oh, that's a great point.
and he's got a great time to shine. This is his time. Like Jason, I think it was Jason, maybe, or Travis. It might have been Travis last week. Said when you're in the big time show, you either perform or you sit back down like a lapdog. And I think it might have struck him a little bit. You're not getting comfortable throwing to your receivers.
It wasn't people he was comfortable with.
Or
But
playing.
what's going to happen is because he's not the only one that got trashed at the combine. Okay, they're starting to trash certain ones, so they're not just going to show up because he comes from winning the national championship, comes in there and makes a couple bad throws. I saw it, good throws too.
Yeah.
So his whole combine was not bad. He just had a couple bad throws to receivers he's not used to. In fact, if you listen to the analysts, they didn't have time to work with each other. He came in there and worked with a bunch of people he never had. So if you're not used to a kid, how fast he is running down, how far do you need to? Timing
is huge.
Timing, Exactly. That's my point.
Mm-hmm.
So if they keep trashing players like this,
they're not going to want to continue. They're not going to.
The players aren't going to want to show up anymore. They'll just show up to their
and
pro days.
that's already a trend we're seeing, right? We're seeing a lot more guys
stop trashing kids,
choosing to do the pro day instead.
I just don't like the fact that you're relying on a single-handed day combine
one day
to watch the way they do a hurdle or the way the vertical.
Well,
watch the game footage. Watch them in the game time position when there's third down and long, having to make the right read, the right pass, put it right in the breadbasket. What Howard did is got to be better than some of those guys that they're talking about.
That's my point.
Because of the way the level of talent he played against. You played against Texas, who was a bloodbath back and forth. Then you played Notre Dame, who has been rising. You played Oregon, who was favored to win it by every analyst
win
out
it all,
there.
but they fell flat on their face.
What game was it that Will Howard looked over at the bench and winked his eye with a big smile on it after he threw the ball? He went down. They made a big gain on it, and he looked over to the bench. This was during the playoffs. It might have been Notre Dame, but he looked over and he smirked, had a big smile on his face, and he winked. I think it was a Coach Day.
I can't remember. I was thinking it was either Oregon game.
I saw that on that big of a stage, the comfortability that he had to look over there and say, "Coach, I got this. I got it. It's good." That tells me he's ready for the NFL.
Well, no, I think he has a chance. He's gonna. The only thing is, I think the way you were comparing him to like Stroud or the other kids is, I give him credit for playing well. I do, and I think he can make all the throws. He can run around, and he has good size. He's just not. When you want him to be in the first round, you want that quarterback to have everything, like when Stroud came. But now I agree with you on the Stroud thing. I think he got knocked for no reason, which clearly was a mistake because, no, look, Bryce Young's finally starting to play better, but C.J. Stroud had everything. The only thing he didn't have was the big leg, but he could make every throw. He was smart. He was a good teammate, and he is that in Houston. But I think the thing about the Combine, and I kind of agree with you guys, but I kind of don't, but I think the Combine, it's not an end-all, be-all. It's pretty much a confirmation of what you do that's on your tape. Now, if you test terribly, okay, that happens. No, look, I agree with the Will Howard thing. I think it was wrong if they docked him that much for missing some throws. It's, football in shorts on a turf field in, wherever. I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, like you said,
But,
Ryan.
but the reason he is down lower is because he just doesn't have the biggest arm in the world. He's not perfect. And part of it's playing at Ohio State with all the talent.
He's still got to make the throw.
Oh,
I don't care who's on the
no, I
receiving.
agree. When you want a guy in the first round, you want everything. You want the production, you want the winning, you want the tools, you want the leader, you want everything.
I think
and when
it
you're
comes
not,
down to making decisions.
that's why.
If you can make the decisions in college, that transfers over to the NFL.
It's definitely a
And the
variable.
decision making, this guy just didn't come onto the scene because who knew about Will Howard before he came to Ohio State?
No, I mean,
You know who did? The Big 12.
Yeah.
Right.
Because he holds records in there.
Yeah.
Look what he did at the Big 12.
Yeah,
And then come to Ohio State because he wanted to finish his career in a bigger program that could set him to the next level.
Right.
And to me, he accomplished that. But why they keep tearing him down, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I think it's well established on the MacCast that
I'm
because
glad
we've
they
been
did
talking
though.
about Howard for
That's
the last
a big
couple
part of
episodes.
Well, after the draft, we can stop talking.
No, I don't like. I don't mind it at all. I like it. I just think that we all are on the same page here. We think Howard is a good player. We're all Buckeyes fans here, so
Yeah.
it's just some of us. But for the most part, I mean, if he succeeds in the NFL, it'll be great because we can say we knew it all the time.
Yeah, we told
But
him.
you're always to Andy's point. I think he misses a little bit of that the whole shebang. He's not as like Shedeur Sanders.
Let me say this.
Oh, no, I have nothing wrong with the shebang.
He came into Ohio State this year.
Oh yeah.
He didn't play with Ohio State prior to that. So he had to come in and learn the system,
Mm-hmm.
get used to the timing with his receiving core.
Right.
That all took time. So if you watched throughout the season, he progressed. He got better, and he got better at the right time.
Right.
Now, he made some mistakes against Penn State, the pick six.
Yeah. Nobody's arguing
He
that
has
he
made mistakes.
progress, but I'm just saying when you look at the quarterback stats and all of the different stuff that is involved in that, that's where he's falling short in the analyst eyes.
I'm not complaining that he's fourth-round material because the Browns can get him in the fourth round.
There you go. That'd be
But
pretty nice.
what I'm saying is he is not a fourth-round quarterback. He's a second to third round, in my opinion. And Daniel Jeremiah has him in the second round. The person I'm looking forward to seeing their draft, their mock draft, is the what is his name from?
Mel Kiper, McShay.
No. This guy has been the best at picking who goes where, who to what team. Not Mel Kiper. This guy doesn't even have he works on the NFL channel. Good Morning Football. Not Kyle Brandt.
That's Schrager, right?
Schrader.
Well, Peter Schrager's
Peter
not only,
Schrader.
he's not only been on there, he's been an NFL reporter for a long time, too. So.
Yeah, so he's
Yeah.
got, but his, for some reason,
Schrager, Donahue's up there, right?
Schrader's picks, his mock draft has been closer to being perfect compared to everybody else.
He's the highest accuracy in mock drafts.
See?
Yeah.
That's who I want to see where he has Will Howard at.
He correctly predicted 12 team player matches, showcasing deep connections and insight. So
Well, yeah, doing a mock draft and being an insider also helps. Which he's an insider, but he's not. He's a host, but he's a reporter, but he does know people.
He does it all.
So
Basically.
yeah, he does a little bit of everything.
My question is, they're basing this off of the combine, correct? The reason why he keeps falling or he's ranked fourth.
Yeah, I mean, what else?
What would happen if Travis Hunter decided not to even do the combine? Are you telling me he's still not gonna get drafted top
No, but
five?
he didn't run or anything.
But if he didn't show up, you're telling me a talent like that, they're not going to say he's going to drop? No,
Oh no, I know what you mean. It's like
it's a bunch of name. It's a big name game in NFL.
Well, I think that's why he's right. That's why they did it to C.J. Stroud. He said he can't believe they did it, but they did it so his draft stock would drop, and they could get it.
Yeah.
So my point is what we talked about earlier.
I think it's Texas.
Why show up for the combine now? Just show up for your pro day and show up to who you throw.
That's my point.
And if they want to put you back, that's their fault. You showed it in game time readiness against NFL caliber teams, like I said earlier.
Sure.
Your pro day is going to be a lot more comfortable than to the combine when you're just doing rhythm throws.
Yeah, well, that's why they do it. It's more comfortable at their pro day. That's also why when you're talking about it, I think it's also because, like, when you're a first, second round pick, unless you really screw up, you're not going to get knocked as badly. And because Will Howard is considered a third or fourth, that's probably why when you don't do as well, you want to do everything you can when you do show up to do better. That's why he's going to knock him, which probably isn't fair because, I mean, it's not game tape. It's different.
Yeah.
But that's why a lot of the top picks, they really don't even go and work out at the combine. They just show up because they don't want to have it look poorly on them.
Exactly.
A lot of the top draft picks, even they go to their own pro day, some of them run, some of them still don't even run. Like
Sanders didn't even Sanders and Ward didn't even throw.
No. Lamar Jackson.
Do you blame them after what they said about Will Howard?
No.
The most explosive player in the NFL, Lamar Jackson, he was at the end of the first round draft pick. Lamar never ran.
And look at all the people who missed on him if they drafted someone higher.
Oh, I know.
I got one more thing about before we move on. To
40
the
times are good
Mhm.
if it can show, at the combine, the pro days, all that stuff is just confirming on the tape. If it's really bad, okay, it's one thing that you just kind of ignore it, but when it's that quick and that explosive and you have all that and your tape is that good, it's kind of just like a real confirmation of how good you are. It isn't always accurate, but sometimes it is. It just depends. I mean, you're never going to put that over the game tape or how the kid is. I mean, you have a bad performance, you don't run as well. But it's not real football, so.
Let me throw this at you. Quentin Ewers will be out next year. Penn State. He's from Cleveland area, right?
Say that one more time, a little louder.
Quentin Ewers, right?
Well, I thought Quinn Ewers is coming out this year.
Quinn Ewers is.
No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking about what's the Penn State.
You're saying Drew
quarterback?
Aller.
I mean,
Drew Aller.
Yeah, because Drew Aller's from.
Does he have enough
Where's
though?
he from in Cleveland? I can't
Does he have
remember.
enough on tape to be a high round draft pick?
No, the Browns are banking on that. I'm thinking this. I'm just throwing this out there as a possible scenario.
Mm-hmm.
The Browns could load up this year with two experienced quarterbacks, grab one in the very late rounds of Milrow. They're not going to, wouldn't be shy, right? Or a Will Howard.
You're just taking away from another spot that you need to fill. One that
But they ain't got no money.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
You got to do something then.
Yeah, they're going to get a bunch of unsigned, undrafted free agents is what's going to happen.
Moneyball, bud.
I'm just afraid if you don't get a quarterback now, one that
Will Howard to hopefully work on
at a rookie contract.
Yeah.
Now
next year they can also go out and grab
another quarterback.
What's his name?
Drew
Aller.
But the problem
is
the
Browns like Drew Aller, I'm telling you. So they may be looking at that next year as another rookie quarterback. They could end up with 2 low-paid salaries at quarterback with Deshaun Watson.
My only issue with Drew Aller right now is he didn't really throw the ball a lot, and you didn't need to. You had 2 great running backs there, and you have both of them back, right?
Yeah, both Singleton and
I think a lot of it had to do with.
I always forget his name, the other running back. But yeah, they have 2,000-yard rushers from last year, and Drew has talent, but it's never been. He was better last year.
It's never drawn.
But then at the end of the playoff game, he, metaphorically, went down his leg again and threw a terrible interception. I mean, at times he can make plays, at times he doesn't. Now, part of it's they haven't had, great wide receiving cores like Ohio State. I wish I could have half of their wide receivers at Penn State. They can recruit everything except wide receivers all of a sudden. But at the same time, when you're that talented in college, sometimes you got to elevate who you have around you.
That's true too.
If you got 2 really good backs and you got a first-round tight end in Tyler Warren, and
oh my gosh,
they had a 10-point lead with 10 minutes left, and you can't close it out.
Tyler Warren.
They should have been in the national championship against Ohio State, but you got to be able to push.
He's a dude.
He is a dude.
But how much does that come down to the head coach's decision not to draw up a play for?
That's what I'm saying.
For Tyler Warren.
I think
it's part of it, but you also can't. You also can't throw the ball right to a guy in the middle of the field and give him at the 40-yard line. I'd rather have him get sacked instead of turning the football over. Yeah. He's got the talent and he's got the skill, but you have to develop. You have to, kind of get to the point where you're in charge and you're the guy and you control things. And when you don't get to that level, it sucks the way it is, and I don't like to act like this either because I don't think he's a bad player. I think he has a lot of skill, but he has to develop more. You got to be the reason your team wins. You got to control a lot of the time.
Season away.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be the.
Well, I know that brings me into our next point. So, I wanted to ask your guys' opinions on Ohio State breakdown. Who do you think is our biggest competitor this year?
Penn State.
I think it's definitely got to be Penn State, and
Oregon.
And you definitely have to think Oregon's reloaded again with
Michigan,
and then Michigan probably. And you made a point. Indiana's probably going to drop out.
I think Penn State's going to win it myself. They pushed all their chips in the middle. They won a national championship, and they deserve it. They've been there, been close so many years in a row. They've been close. They just can't get past Ohio State or Michigan, and I think this is the time they do.
Are you calling is that a three-peat? The Big Ten winning it again?
I do.
Is that your?
If it ain't Penn State, it'll be Ohio State or Oregon. There's people out there that believe Ohio State can repeat, so there is that contingency that they are going to be good enough to compete. But man, is Penn State loaded? They're loading up.
What about according to this, Texas is right
off the bat. That's
right
going to be
first game.
That'll tell
Texas
you
first game, away game at Washington.
I'm not really worried about
then
Washington.
Then we come back to play Penn State at home.
Right off the bat, early in the year.
Yeah. Hold on, I'm sorry. September 27th is when we're in Washington.
Okay.
Yeah, November 1st, right? Would be Penn State. So those first 3 games are.
Dang.
The Texas game.
No, November 1st. That's the second last game of the
The
year.
the Penn State
yeah.
game.
Oh my gosh! there's a whole month in there.
You said
October,
second to last though.
Second to last. He said like in September.
But you're telling me we played Penn State and then turn around and play Michigan?
No, he messed.
We played Michigan. We played Michigan November 29th. But we play Penn State November 1st. So there's
a couple games in between that. Okay. I was gonna say. Looks like 3.
Yeah, look.
Purdue, UCLA.
Penn State, Ohio State's November 11th, and then they don't play Michigan always last game of the year, 29th. So
now, is that going to continue being the last game of the year?
It should be.
Wasn't there some talks about having to adjust that?
The Michigan game is not important anymore with this new playoff system.
Okay.
It is important to Ohio State and Michigan only.
It isn't as important. It isn't as important for the playoff.
No, it's not important. It's not as important to get into the playoff.
Not like it used to be for the BCS,
right?
Because they used to be 1 and 2.
So I think the priority of beating Michigan's going to slip just a little bit.
Okay.
I think there's going to be more priority on maybe winning the Big Ten overall.
Probably whoever wins the Big Ten is going to get a higher ranked seeded, probably most likely, with as dominant as it is.
Yeah.
As good as the conference is overall, yeah, but especially between those three, and then Oregon could come up like they usually are the last several years. Even USC or maybe UCLA, you don't know, but sometimes. And there's always a sleeper that kind of comes out of nowhere that's decent. I mean, the Big Ten's never, even without the 4 new members, it's usually pretty good.
Watch out for Nebraska.
Yeah, I think, is it Matt Rule?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's.
That all depends on that quarterback, that young kid that
Right,
Dylan Raiola.
yeah.
I think Nebraska's going to make a run or, be better. I don't think they're going to be the Indiana of last season, though. But I think they're going to be better. You're not going to be able to go into Nebraska and chalk up an easy win.
I don't have Nebraska on my schedule this year.
So
Not for Ohio State.
Mm-mm.
That's
I see Texas, Grambling State.
Mm-hmm.
No,
OU.
they don't play Nebraska this year.
So they don't play
Penn State does
Nebraska
either.
or Indiana, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Penn State does. Second to last game of the year, November 22nd. They're at home against Nebraska, but
What do we think about Iowa this year? Iowa has been pretty consistent there for a while.
They're
But
that's
always-
all they are.
they're always going to be consistent. But they
They're
very
tough
rarely
on
get
defense and suck on offense.
That's another
because
one.
they can't score. They never recruit well on
Ohio State doesn't
on
have to play
offense, or
Iowa.
at least skill position
They're
wise.
going to have to do away with that whole regime for them to change their philosophy on bringing kids
Or they'll
in.
have to have fair exchange and finally put some money to the NIL, because it is a good program. It is a really good program. It's been a good program for a long time, but
Yeah,
it's
they're
not.
really good at
It's not on the
defense.
level of Ohio
Always
State.
been a defensive team.
Really good at defense and they run the ball. That's all they do. They're not very good on offense.
Who knows? Might change though. Might change in the future. It'd be good for the
Never
Big Ten. Big Ten's changing. Obviously, UCLA, USC, Oregon bringing in some.
How about Wisconsin?
Washington, too.
Where have they
Washington bringing in some stuff.
why are we forgetting about USC? USC has still Lincoln Riley there.
Yeah.
USC is not on Ohio State's schedule either,
They're not.
which
Yeah.
is great.
So Ohio State must have jaws of bullet this year when it came to the
I think so.
schedule.
In a couple.
Well, playing the West Coast team, they still got.
Yeah.
UCLA and
Oregon, right? You still have Oregon.
Did they play at Oregon, or did they not play Oregon this year?
I don't see Oregon on the schedule.
Dodged Oregon too. Dang.
Yeah. So here's the schedule: Texas, Grambling State, OU.
Mm-hmm.
Then a bye week at Washington. Then we host Minnesota. Then we got at Illinois, at Wisconsin, which we haven't heard a lot about
Luke
Wisconsin.
Fickell.
What's going on there? Have you heard anything out of Wisconsin?
Nah.
Luke Fickell's there. That's
That's still not
enough.
an easy place to play because that crowd's always good.
Jump around, right?
But
Nah.
and Wisconsin's not bad. But
Camp
they're
Randall
not
Stadium.
as good as they were a couple years.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
talent's dropped a little bit.
Well,
Yeah.
Luke
Um,
Fickell.
They always play hard, though. That is one thing about those good powers in the Big Ten. It's hard to go on the road because they're always going to play hard. They're always going to be physical. That doesn't always mean they're going to have the best skill.
And that's going to be their Super
But-
Bowl, though, too.
but yeah,
everybody
it
that plays
is.
Ohio
Oh,
State
yeah,
plays
exactly.
at the higher level.
My question is Notre Dame going to make a return to
No.
playoffs?
Another run.
I like the coach. I think
Well, they-
Freeman
I think
is
he's
is
a
an
pro.
excellent coach.
He's a former Buckeye.
I think that they recruit very well as well.
Yeah, well,
So I think they'll be
Helps.
there. I think they're going to be. I think it hurts them being not in the conference, so their chances are probably slim, right, of making it percentage wise. They almost have to win out. So
But at the same time, they're still one of the big brands in college football, whether you
Yep.
like them or not, which none of us really do. I don't like Notre Dame. I don't know if you guys do, but
no, but I have a suspicion.
But they're Notre
just
Dame,
My opinion,
so.
I think they had NIL before anybody else did. I think they were doing.
I think the
boosters-
entire
boosters to
NCAA
take
did.
care
They
of
just
certain
did.
people.
I think half the teams in college football did. They just
Yeah.
don't want to admit it.
Who's the comedian? Who was the comedian that called it out? Nick Saban. He was a Notre Dame fan. He was on during the Notre Dame game. And Saban was on there. He called him, not Indiana. What did he call him? You know who I'm talking about?
Mm.
Shane Gillis. He was
Oh, you're
he
talking
was
about
a
the
guest on the
Pat
Pat
McAfee?
McAfee
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
But he also did a cameo or whatever with, he was in there talking and he said the same thing, insinuated the same thing. The SEC had the NIL a little bit before
I must have missed that.
everybody
one.
else. But Saban didn't take that very well. He was, but anyhow, so back to the Buckeyes in the
Yeah.
spring. They started spring practice this week. We
They
know
did.
that.
Yep.
105 players on the roster. 35 returning lettermen. They lost 30 Letterman.
Yeah, it was big.
17 defensive returnees and 15 offensive players returning.
Yeah, and I like a lot of the players coming back. I think we're not really weak in certain positions. We have a guy who's got experience, and that's the nice thing, especially the offensive line. That had been the question the last couple of years, but I think we've done a really good. Fry's done an excellent job.
Basically all coming back. The middle, the center's coming back.
Center's coming back. We lost Jackson
guards.
Jackson's
Two
gone.
guards are coming back.
2 guards. We got that tackle from Temple I talked about earlier, so we're going to be
We
all
got
right.
a tackle from Minnesota as well.
Yeah, so I mean, listen, you guys have been watching the Ohio State Buckeyes for your whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
You know it as well as I do. The Buckeyes reload.
They do.
Oh, yeah. And it's easy. It's kind of easy for them when you win a national championship. I mean, teams want to be a part of that. They've seen all the stuff. We got a running back that came through in the transfer
West
portal.
Virginia, yep.
C.J. Donaldson, defensive lineman, Logan
Well, they got
George.
C.J. Donaldson out of West Virginia.
Yeah.
You're going to like that kid. I've watched him.
He's tough.
Well, yeah, West Virginia. I'm not a Pitt or West Virginia fan, but that's a big rivalry between West Virginia and Pitt every year. That kid's tough as nails. He is
tough.
physical. You're going to like him.
He's a Nick Chubb type.
He's not going to. No, he's not Chubb's level. He's not going to break away, but he is
Nobody's
physical.
Chubb.
He is physical as I'll get
Chubb
out. Donaldson will.
Yeah.
He's
Chubb
going to
ass.
get some carries. You'll like him.
He's tough.
He's a good player out of
I mean,
West
he's-
Virginia. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're looking solid already. And
Yeah, I mean, I'm not worried at all.
But-
Secondary, you got some secondary experience coming back. You got some linebacker experience
exciting
coming back.
defensive
You
coordinator
got
in the building.
defensive line experience coming back.
Well, that's going to be interesting. Yeah, how are they going to adjust without having Jim Knowles? Because Penn State gave him all the money in the world, and he went to Penn State. Although he's from outside Philadelphia, so that's part of it.
Matt
Yeah,
Patricia.
Matt
I'm
Patricia.
pretty comfortable.
You like Patricia? You're a Patriots fan.
My
you always
opinion
like
with
Patricia,
Knowles going to Penn State is Penn State's had a great defense before Knowles went there.
Yeah.
I thought Penn
I don't
State.
think he don't.
I don't think he makes any difference to Penn State at all. My opinion, though, with
maybe some different stuff.
it's the players that you have, and Knowles. My opinion, his first 2 years, I didn't like it. I don't think he did. I didn't like the defense at all. Last year, his success, I don't even give it to him. It was the seniors running, returning. You look at Ransom from the safety, the way he upgraded and evolved over the years. He made a big difference. If you watch a lot of his rundown, stop and tackles, he didn't let many people go. Then you add, what's the other safety we just got from Alabama? We talked about him earlier.
Caleb
Caleb
Downs.
Yeah, Alan Keelan
yeah.
does another smart
Sonny
safety.
Styles.
You have Sonny Styles. You have the 2 guys on the defensive line. You have the defensive tackle up front. You had the pieces that you needed to win a championship. I don't think it was the whole Knowles it wasn't Knowles. I don't think called that. So I'm okay with Knowles going. I'm super happy
I
with
think
it.
it was that big a loss.
Yeah, I'm super happy with what Ryan Day's got right now, the staff with Adam and Patricia. And I think this is a great sign for Patricia to turn around his career. I think if he wants to get back into the rhythm, because he had a little bit of an outfall at Detroit, and he had a great career, obviously, with New England, which anyone on that coaching staff has a great resume. But for him to be able to stretch himself out, I think this is a great opportunity for him. So
Jim Knowles came from
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State,
Yep.
and they had a powerful offense. Oklahoma State brought him in to shore up that defense because they were giving up just as many points as they were scoring.
Yeah, because that was more the old Big 12 where
Yeah.
there'd be a shootout every other game. It didn't matter what team played each other. In
Exactly.
That conference.
So he didn't come from a background like Ohio State or a Big Ten. I mean, okay, the Big Ten is how it is,
It's physical.
physical.
Yes.
3 yards in a cloud of dust. Cold teams that are in the north playing the cold, they're going to be able to run the football. And so I think that was an adjustment for him. So like you said, he struggled the first couple of years that he was with the Buckeyes. He really wasn't. But the thing that came to my mind when they did trade him, or when they let him go, was the fact that he's going to give Penn State all our secrets. And I think that's all they need to get over the hump.
That's
That's
exactly
where I was
what I'm
worried
going to
more.
bring up. I think the thing he brings is the secret to beat Ohio State.
Yeah,
or
I
at
think
least,
he knows.
We'll see. But before we finish up the Buckeyes, there's 2 points I wanted to run by you guys. The quarterback comparison right now, competition is throughout the roof. Julian Sand had kind of been that guy they had talked about before the season ended last year. He put on 10 to 15 pounds.
He needed to.
And then if you listen to a lot of the receivers that are in the draft, a lot of the current guys, the zip that he has on the ball is phenomenal.
Standing out.
But you also have that freshman, St. Clair, who's been pushing him a lot
That's
now.
a good thing.
But I think St. Clair, this is perfect for him to sit back, I think, because if anytime you make that transition from high school to college, it's a big jump, and some kids can make it right away. I think St. Clair, to make him a better quarterback, I think it would be right for him to sit for a year or two and let Julian Sayin have his year, 2 years, and then go from there. The last thing I wanted was Jeremiah Smith. We know what he did last year. There was a video going around that he was returning punts. I don't know.
Jeremiah Smith.
I don't know if
returning
that's going to make other people have to think out differently the way they do their punt team. They have more guys flare out there to contain him. Is it a risk on Ohio State's end? Is it worth it at the end of the
Too big a risk.
Yeah,
He's
I almost don't
he's
believe
the number
it.
one wide receiver in the country.
Yeah.
And they're not going to take a chance on getting him injured. On the other hand, though, if you had faced a team that has a bad kick or punting team that you could return one, why not let him go? It'd be exciting.
Yeah.
But no, you ain't gonna.
My thought was with Ibuka going in the NFL,
Yeah.
they always have their depth chart. They always have guys that step in if someone gets hurt, and I think they might have just wanted to throw him in there just because he's got great hands. And
What if he asked? What if he was like, "Hey, coach, let me get a couple"? That could have been two, but that would definitely be interesting.
It would be interesting.
And that carries a lot of weight, especially with him. Hey, coach, I want another opportunity to get my hands on the ball.
Well, and it'd be a nice little thing if you're in a big time game and you need a big time play.
Big time plays, it would be
You're
huge.
in that situation, you throw him out there if you need him. I don't know if he's your everyday punt returner, but it'd be nice to have him.
That wouldn't be such a bad idea to at least know how to do it, even if you're not going to do it all the time because you don't want him to get hurt. But he's your best playmaker, so yeah.
I bet you
if you're on the road against somebody, you're down early, you want to get some momentum, and you're getting the return back.
Let me
Why
recall
not
the
throw him out
national
there?
championship game against Florida. Remember that game?
Which one?
The
There
one
two
where
of them?
Urban Meyer,
The one we
Seven
got,
or-
we got crushed.
Was 7
Papa
or 08
John's
when
at
they
the-
played?
he was eating Papa
We got
John's
crushed
at the
by
golf
Urban
cart.
Meyer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that team.
Oh, okay.
Who was our punt returner?
Ted Ginn Jr.?
Ted Ginn Jr.
Mhm.
What happened in that game?
Did he get hurt on a punt
He
return?
got hurt right off the bat, and they lost. Bad. Because he was the wide receiver.
That's true.
So do you think guys want to go back down that road?
That's a
again?
great point.
No.
I don't think so.
That's a great point.
No, it is cool. Like when you're the up and coming kid, the talented player on the team, you can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's funny because Saquon Barkley in college did that at Penn State. People forget that. A couple years ago, when he was in college, he actually returned a kickoff against the Buckeyes in the horseshoe. They
Saquon
lost,
Barkley is just a
but
beast.
and players throughout
Dude's a
college and
different
into the league
breed.
do it sometimes.
He's a
But
dude.
Yeah.
Why is Penn State always getting the dudes?
I don't know.
That dude jumped somebody backwards. That doesn't happen in today's
No.
world.
No,
It's
not
not
usually.
his speed,
No,
right?
that's for
They
sure.
need to check his
Yeah.
organs and make sure they're human because
I did
he
a quick-
could be an alien.
I did a quick check. There's a video out there of Jeremiah Smith returning a 60-yard punt for a touchdown in high school.
High school.
So I think he did it in high school. Probably just wanted to make sure he still had it, and maybe must.
I mean,
win
as the
situation.
emergency guy, if somebody gets hurt,
Yeah,
why
that's
not?
yeah.
That's what I was.
But
kinda
that's
thinking.
also different in the NFL than college. You have a lot more players on a college game day roster than you do in the NFL. So, but yeah,
You want to move on? Or?
It's a great opportunity, I think, right?
Yeah. Hey, this is a great break time. We're gonna transition to Danielle's daily dose. Shine a little bit of brightness in here. So what do you got for us today, Danielle?
Hi guys, welcome back to another run of Danielle's Daily Dose. I know it's been a while since I've been on here. So I'm going to talk a little bit about today about a spiritual girl from Survivor 48. This girl, her name was Eva. She was born with autism. And she was, she was born with it. And at a very young age, that's what she was diagnosed with, was autism, and she wasn't afraid to ask for help. So, Eva was on Survivor 48. She was on a tribe with some of her closest tribe members, or friends, however you want to call it. And so she was playing a game with her tribe, and that she was struggling so bad, she thought that she couldn't do it. So, she asked for help with her teammates, and so her teammates were just kind of, cheering her on, and telling her, it's okay, you got this, So, she was so upset, she finally came out and won it. And by the time she came around and won it, she was in a panic attack. So, thank goodness for her paramedic being on another tribe came over, was talking to her, giving her hugs, telling her to take deep breaths, it's okay, you got this. And so she finally came out of it, and so Jeff, the co-host, said, you've earned this, Eva. And just think with autism, there's people out there that have it. Don't be afraid to say something. Ask for help, whatever it might be, Autism is a very, special thing, you're just, born with, whatever it might be, And I felt for this girl on Survivor 48. I felt so bad for her that she was in that state of mode where she was just in a panic attack, was very upset, I thought, what, her teammates were so good to her. They were cheering her on. And the guy came over and said, hey, Eva, do you want me to hold your hand and talk to you? And she said, yeah. So, she was very thankful for that. But yeah, that's all for today for Danielle's Daily Dose. Back to you, Jason Ryan.
Thanks so much, Danielle. We always enjoyed Danielle's Daily Dose, shining a little God's light on us. So we're going to transition. We were talking a little bit off camera about the exciting Fox UFL. Well, we were talking about how Fox is going to make it a dedicated Friday night national spotlight. But we were talking about the UFL and how important that league is going to be for the NFL in the future. It's kind of like a B league. Ryan was stating he thinks that he'd like to see the NFL a little bit more involved. Yeah. And it was at 10% was the stat you were looking for. 10% of minor league players make it to the major leagues and have a successful career.
That's Major League Sports, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But back to what we were talking about, the UFL merger. Andy, you were letting us know a little bit of the exciting stuff coming our way.
Okay, so what the UFL stands for is United Football League. I think it was last year was its first year. It combined two spring football leagues. One was the XFL and the other one was the USFL. The USFL has been around since like the 80s, but it disbanded years ago, came back. But a couple years ago, they actually played a couple games in Canton a couple years ago. Actually had the USFL championship game there. And then the XFL, which was in the early 2000s, last year or two, it came back a couple years ago. They couldn't stay together as like unified leagues, so they decided to combine it into two, and now it's 8 teams, and there's 8 teams in it. This is the UFL Conference, which is the Birmingham Stallions, who I think have won the USFL Championship once or twice. They won the UFL Championship last year. Mm-hmm. Houston Roughnecks, the Memphis Showboats, and the Michigan Panthers. Now, the XFL Conference, which is the 4 that came from the XFL, are the Arlington Renegades, the DC Defenders, San Antonio Brahmas, and the St. Louis Battlehawks. And Ryan's looking up some on his computer. There's some pretty decent coaches in this league, like the Birmingham Stallions, who have won the league the last couple of years. Lou Holtz used to be head coach at Louisiana Tech, is their head coach.
Shout out to Bob Stoops.
Yeah, he's the Arlington Renegades head coach. Really good coach to Oklahoma for a long time, won a national title.
Ken Wisenhunt?
Ken Wisenhunt used to be the Steelers' offensive coordinator, as head coach of Memphis.
What about the old man?
Mike Nolan's there.
Mike Nolan's in the Michigan Panthers. Used to be
Wade
the 49ers.
Phillips.
Wade Phillips.
Yep, Wade Phillips.
The old
is the
man.
Brahmas head coach.
Decades.
So yeah, and
damn near a century.
So yeah, there's
guy's been around the walks. His dad coached. Bum Phillips.
Really? His dad was head coach of the Houston Oilers back in the 70s. There's actually some good battles between the Steelers when they were in the same.
Warren Moon played for the Houston Oilers?
Yeah.
Warren Moon.
He wasn't the coach then, but yeah.
Speaking earlier when you were talking about Friday night, this Friday is the kickoff. Friday night.
No way.
St. Louis
this Friday, yep.
Battlehawks versus Houston Roughnecks. So
all right, man.
Exciting.
I'll be tuning in, that's for sure.
Well,
There'll be some football we can talk about, too.
The Rock owns.
He owned part. I think
his ex-wife.
Yeah, him and his ex-wife, who's big into WWE, or she was. I think he owned part of the XFL a couple years ago. He bought it, but he kind of went bankrupt, so that's why they decided to combine together. But I just think it's cool because I like football as much as I do to see something in the spring so you could watch something throughout the summer. And it's, throughout the spring and the summer. And not all of it is great football, but some of it's really good at the end when the teams are pretty decent and they're competing, because I think only 4 of the 8 make the playoffs, so then they have 2 playoff games, then they have a championship game. But at the end, when they make the playoffs, those teams are pretty decent, and it's fun to watch because it's professional competitive football.
Now, you think that the play is a little less at the beginning because they start off with fresh teams every year?
Somewhat, yeah. Some of the players come back from whatever.
But it ain't like the NFL where you return 3/4 of your
No,
team.
exactly, yeah. Now, a good amount of them sometimes return if they can't get NFL jobs, but the guys who get NFL jobs, of course, they're going to leave. Even if you're going to be a back for the NFL, you're going to make more money than being in the UFL. But I think it's cool that there is a league, at least somewhat now, that the players who are just that close from getting on an NFL roster can go and improve and play well, then have a chance to get on it again.
Yeah.
Or even a guy who's on an NFL roster, plays pretty well, then gets hurt, goes somewhere, puts good tape out there. That's all they want to do, is they want to put tape out there for NFL teams so they can see them, so they get a chance again.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing about it.
Yeah.
Which goes back to my point of, is the combine towards the end? Is it decelerating? Because of...
Is it just losing the value?
Is it losing the value as important
I think it is
anymore?
somewhat. But yeah.
You've seen a lot of the top players not even perform. Some of them not even performing in certain of the.
Why, if you were a player,
competitions.
why would you want to go to the NFL Combine, maybe make a couple bad throws? Next thing you hear on social media is you're the worst thing since.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is that was just a key thing in my mind that the NFL has got to keep, because every conference, every professional organization is always looking the way to improve their value. I just think the NFL would be a great chance for them to reach into this conference by having a lot of the practice squad guys during the summer play.
They've made a commitment. The
You know.
NFL has made a commitment to. I don't know how I want to put this. I'm trying to word it real careful. They're not involved in it, but yet they are committed to,
They're kind of
sharing ideas. They're open to ideas and things from that league. So they're kind of a partnership in a way, but not really.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They kind of look at it like, oh, okay, maybe they'll try that there. They're not partner with
Right.
it. They're not.
Hey, we can
involved
benefit from it and not have to
enough.
pay.
The
Yeah.
chip.
That's the
The
thing.
chip and the balls that they use, the XFL uses, the pro league is now going to try that out.
Yeah.
They said next season we won't even have yard markers.
Wow. We won't have that change anymore.
Nope, there's no chain gangs. You're
No
right.
chain
It's
gang.
just going to be virtual. Yeah.
Ryan, though,
Interesting.
I just happened to type in, why is it important? It's a couple of the talking points. So, the medical evaluation. Some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on, they go under a thorough medical evaluation during the NFL Combine, which means it has a lot of value to the NFL teams.
I don't think you're right. The NFL Combine is never going to stop.
And they have tons of team interview opportunities, so all the teams can interview all of those potential candidates at the same time versus trying to be at a pro day all over the place. The other thing is they have side-by-side comparison. So if we're comparing two dudes at the same position, how do they look side by side? You know what I mean? Give you that eye on. So it's more beneficial for the NFL organizations than it is the player. So they're going to have to adjust some things.
Yeah, they're going to have to change some things,
Yeah.
but it'll never go away because you're so right. The information they can collect during that period is huge. You have all 32 teams that show up to the Combine, but
Yeah, so
just for the interview
all at the
process,
same
the
time.
medicals.
Yeah.
Some of that competition stuff doesn't mean a whole lot. Other than speed, I think speed more than anything they look at.
Yeah.
They like to look at speed.
They like to see that measurable data because you might be fast in the Big 12, but are you fast in the SEC? That kind of thing.
I mean, to me, turf's turf, though.
Well, players are outrunning a defensive player in the SEC is a lot different than outrunning a player in the Big 12 or the Big East.
Yeah.
I mean, no, you can outrun me all day. This is coming from the most humble point here. There are athletes all across the board. I'm just saying the SEC has a tendency to have your elite speed, and so you might look fast on film, but when you're running the 40, actually, it's a different story.
I just think the combine is going downhill. I just don't think it's.
It is, Ryan. And
They got to
what
figure
we're
something
saying
out.
is they're going to have to change.
I just the combine aspect of when you hear a combine, you think of it. Oh, it's what it was his 40. You know, how did he do in the cone drill? Now it's becoming a social gathering.
Yes, which is very valuable in itself, though.
But if I'm a player at the combine, you're worried about performing where you shouldn't be worried.
Your argument is they have to make it more appealing for the players.
Yes.
Because right now it's not as appealing. It's not as beneficial to them.
It's unfair.
When 32 GMs are sitting in those stands, it's pretty appealing.
It
to
should
somebody
be.
who's
It should
wanting
be,
to
but
get
it's
the
unfair. It's unfair that we didn't get that. Certain quarterbacks didn't see how Cam Ward faced up the eye test. How did he face up next to that guy?
They're going to have.
How did Sanders face up?
Harder, yeah. They're gonna have to adjust. Zeke, you want up there? What's going on?
I think they're going to include a
You might have
lot
to
of
cut
people's game day. You know, the not the game days, the pro days at the different. Have you seen the changes already in pro days? You guys seen any of this? Pro days used to be at each individual university.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I've seen this year that I think it's the SEC. There's different leagues are having a league-wide pro day instead of each school.
That'd be nice. A little
It's easier for everybody.
organizations, yeah.
But it's unfair to the players like Corey Contini, or not Corey Contini, Contini from Dover, who went and played for Ohio Dominion, and then he got a shot to go to Ohio State's pro day. Was catching balls from is it CJ? No, who was the quarterback before CJ Stroud?
JT?
Yeah, he was catching passes from JT, getting a chance to show out for some of those GMs. Got an invite to one of the camps to Green Bay. Didn't make it, but here he was able to attend Ohio State's pro day because he lived in Ohio.
So you're limiting some kids' chances.
So you're limiting
He's still
some of
going to
these
get a
kids.
pro day. He's still going to be. It's just all in one spot.
Well, his argument is it had a broader net for more kids to,
Lower division
happen
kids.
to show up. Because let's say if I have it at Ohio State, then I need so many Ohio State kids or Ohio kids. If I'm here at Penn State, I need so many Pennsylvania kids. So those kids are getting more eyes versus having them because they wouldn't all travel right to the central location.
Probably not,
to
yeah.
do the pro day. So he's just saying that you might lose out, but I think. Unfortunately, when you're looking statistically and all that stuff.
Well, Ohio State, let's say it's in the Big Ten. They hold it at Indianapolis, the central point.
Mhm.
Okay. You're still going to, as the Ohio State goes over to compete in the pro day, they're going to take their receivers, their quarterbacks, their running backs. Their team is going to go there.
You're saying they're able to take everyone.
They're be able to take the people who want to go to the NFL for sure.
So it's almost a mini combine then.
Yes.
Which is them trying to save their butts because of the combine because players sitting out.
But it saves everybody. It saves the people, the NFL looking at them. Instead of going to every individual pro day, they could go to one.
Yeah, and to your point,
it saves the conference money. It's a save.
So those not invited to the combine can also showcase their talent.
Yeah.
I just think the NFL it's one of their weaker points. I think right now.
What's combine?
Is the combine? Yeah,
That
the player development.
They're going to have to prove it.
That and the players grading of the teams. I was shocked. We shared that on the last episode. Travis was here. He brought that up. He talked about the NFL grading system that the National Football League Player Association filled out surveys, and we were last in a lot of categories as far as players, families, resources, facilities, all that stuff. I think our weight room was the only claim to fame.
It's all opinionated.
Well,
no,
it was from all 32 teams, all the players, and they talked about it was a grading system. Go back and check that episode out. It was a good one. But
best one yet.
Regardless, I don't know about that.
I do. That's pretty good.
But those are some things that the NFL is going to have to address.
I mean, it opens your eyes. If you want to attract players to come play for you, you've got to be able to accommodate for their family. For a lot of things, you can't just expect them to come perform and be happy. So you want to put happy people in your stadium and make happy fans to improve your team, improve your value. And there's a reason why some of these stadiums are quite a bit higher in that scale.
But they are grading the food, the support staff, everybody is getting graded. And so that all plays into the overall.
I think the biggest thing that we caught out of this was probably the way the family's taken care of.
Yeah, see, that's another area.
Child care.
And
Why
Cleveland
can't
does
we
not have
find some
child care.
I mean, ask your fan base. You know what I mean? Think about your. I don't know. I mean, you'd have to do background checks and all that stuff for safety, but I think you got to find ways to improve those things.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. That's just I think that's not an NFL issue. That's an individual team issue. If you have the money and you can do it, and you want to make your facility good and help your players, help your people in the organization, then do it. Now, at the same time, just because you got a bad grade, that doesn't necessarily mean your facilities are bad. They might just be older. They're just not as modern. That doesn't mean they're bad. It just means they're not, Yeah. But there's also a difference between, you look at like the Steelers locker room. It never gets a good grade. It's not bad. It's just older. The Reds don't spend as much money on it. But that's a difference between, there's
got a high rate.
Yeah. Some are newer, more modern. That doesn't mean they're good. Doesn't mean they're bad. It's just everybody wants the college $1 million locker room that is the best looking thing ever. And I understand why you're going to get good grades. That doesn't mean that your facility is necessarily terrible, because it's not.
Good point.
The top of the line, brand new everything.
But why isn't it?
I don't know why it's not. I don't know. I agree.
In my opinion, the NFL has way more money.
Oh no, I know what you mean. I get it. I just
the NFL.
So why are NFL teams lowering standards?
I don't think they're lowering it. I just don't think they're raising it.
No, yeah, I agree.
Okay, I can see that.
But that also is part of the reason you're an NFL owner and you keep a lot of your money. If you're not,
I would rather my team owner, spend money on players, giving them that upfront money nowadays that they're doing, and a lot of it's not going towards the salary cap that way. But they're finagling money, and I would rather them do that than have a swimming pool in the.
No, I totally get that too. But then you have to look at it as point is they up the salary cap, so they have to pay the players more money.
Yeah,
they got to get that money from the fans. So why
it comes from TV?
Well, even if it comes from TV or not, when it comes to free agency, you're not going to attract those big-time name players that come to Cleveland and play in the winter.
The NFL has profit sharing, right? Well, the NFL spreads money. Everybody gets a chunk.
So would it be to come to the conclusion that it's every team is individually has their opinion or has their decision on how the stadium is?
Yeah.
So Haslam must have had this in the back of his mind all along.
Yeah, that's a team by team.
When Haslam builds the new stadium, everything will be.
Oh, it's going to be incredible. It should be all A's. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that when the Browns built this stadium they're in now, it was rushed. It was a rush deal, and it wasn't built very well.
It's because they wanted football back because Modell left.
They wanted football back as soon as possible, and the only way they were going to do it is get a new stadium.
Yeah.
So they put that, but it was rushed, and it just wasn't up to par. Haslam came in. He's a new owner. Yeah, he's been a part owner, but this is his first ownership.
No, he wasn't the guy. This is
right now he's the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
So he learned too. So I think once the new facility gets built, you'll see the Browns' ratings and stuff. That's not going to persuade me one way or the other. Your good point, though, is it will draw better players.
Mm-hmm. There's a reason why Aaron Rodgers hasn't even thought about coming to Cleveland at all.
Well, I don't think it's that. I think it's their losing past. He's got short time to play, and he doesn't have time to develop.
So real quick, the media broadcasting rights is the biggest source of income for the NFL organizations, and it's equally split among all 32 teams, which is great. But then sponsorships and corporate partnerships, so like your Pepsi, Nike, Microsoft, all that stuff, and then
stadium,
ticket sales, game day revenue, merchandise sales, and digital media. So, and then looking at the 2023 NFL season team revenues, $9 billion for the Dallas Cowboys. With an operating income of $564 million, so that's pretty good return on investment.
Yeah, but not every team gives helicopter rides to the practice facility.
No, that's true. The Patriots are $2 billion lower.
Hey, you could for $500 you could sit down with a team and eat lunch today. Mm-hmm. He does that. He's a businessman.
A lot of people would probably buy that too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rich people do.
Dallas, yeah, of course they would.
But rich man's
Dallas has an operating income of $564 million. The next highest is the New England Patriots at $260 million. That's a heck of a difference. $260 million compared to $564.
Yeah,
He spends a lot of money now.
I mean, their facility.
What is he doing down?
But it all get like he said. Even like if he sold a helicopter ride, that money goes to the NFL to be shared.
I don't know. According to this data, it looked like the thing that was shared was the broadcasting rights. But then I think like the sponsorships and stuff would be.
Yeah, I'm talking about his trips and stuff through the locker room. He charges for that money. All gets sent back to the NFL to be shared, to split. That goes for every team.
Well, Travis was saying last week that Green Bay they opened up their suites to birthday parties and stuff.
Yeah,
because it's the stadium's owned by the public.
Yeah, it's the only public.
Yeah, they have shares as the Green Bay Packers. They have guys who like run the office, but yeah, it's owned by the fans in a way.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
There's kind of a profit sharing deal going on in the NFL where each team contributes and then they divvy it out evenly. Even though somebody like Jerry Jones is making a lot more money at it. That's what he wanted, because people were starting to really talk bad about it. Because they were saying players were being disrupted and that's why they're not winning anymore and this and that. Jerry's like, look, man, I'm sharing the money with all the teams are getting shared the money that I make. I'm bringing in. So it's kind of a weird thing.
Yeah, it's a little weird. What about the Guardians? The season starts Thursday, right, Andy?
Let's go.
Yeah, they actually their starting rotation came out today. Bobby's going to start it off, and then let me look at this again. I can't remember.
Which I believe he got a 5-year extension.
Yeah, Tanner got an extension.
They weren't expecting that at all.
No.
They thought he was going to leave.
What a great surprise!
They thought Tanner was going to leave. I didn't think they thought Tanner was
they were worried about him leaving, and then who's the other one? Bieber.
Well, Shane came back. That was different.
But I'm saying
they gave him his arbitration money, and he came back.
Is he ready to roll?
Not yet. I don't think he's going to be ready till June or July. He's been throwing a bunch of bullpens, but no. Tanner's going to start it off. Then I think the rotation is it's Tanner Bybee, Gavin Williams, Luis Ortiz. Lively made the rotation again. Good for Ben Lively, and then Logan Allen actually made it. He's going to be
nice.
He's going to be the last one.
Bullpen is stronger yet than it was last season.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to get I don't really like Trevor Stephan. They might get him back, but they got Paul Sewald, who was a closer in Arizona, Seattle. They got him. He's going to be a back end guy.
So where's that put McKenzie then? Is he?
Tristan didn't make it.
So okay.
He didn't make the rotation. They put him in the bullpen.
He's in the bullpen
because he struggled a little bit last year, right?
He struggled last year. Got sent down. He kind of struggled this spring. He was up and down. But
what a great guy to have in your bullpen though for a spot start.
Yeah, no
experience.
Or if somebody goes down, you got somebody.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, eventually you're going to get Shane back.
Yeah.
No, Tristan's problem is I just don't know if he ever adjusted to. He has really good stuff. He just never adjusted to be able to, finding his control to be able to keep it in the zone. I don't know how many times you'd watch Tristan last year be like, oh, he strikes a bunch of guys out, but he gives them 4 or 5 home runs because his location is not good.
Yeah.
He'll strike a bunch of guys out, but then he'll walk a bunch of guys and he'll give up home runs, and he just has to learn how to, get his control reined in. Yeah. Because if he can, he's got as much talent as any kid I've seen. You see him. He's really talented. And, he could make a difference whether they make the playoffs or not.
Do you think the manager is going to have a sophomore slump, or do you think he's going to...
I'd like Foot. I think he's good, actually. I think he's smart. I think he really knows how to...
What a hire.
He managed that bullpen as good as I've ever seen last year.
I hope they're able to...
I know it didn't end up as well in the playoffs. I think that was part of just playing the Yankees.
Season, but the Yankees will be...
But, man, that bullpen is...
Snagging.
Yeah, that bullpen's pretty good. And then we got Carlos Santana back. First base.
I've seen that. Santana back.
He has to use a walker to get out.
Oh, come on.
My thing about Carlos is if he can still play, I think he's going to help him a lot. I think it's whether he can sustain it throughout the season.
For $12 million, he better.
Because he wasn't terrible in Minnesota. His age got up to him. He's a better first baseman defensively than Naylor was.
That's hard to believe because, man, Naylor would make me cringe when he would freaking stretch.
Well, that's
for
why.
a ball. Oh my gosh, that dude would stretch it up like he's going to break something.
Plus,
rip something open.
Yeah, but you remember at the end of Carlos's career before they let him go, right? He was a Gold Glove first baseman. I think he won a Gold Glove last year. He's older, but Carlos can play some defense.
Yeah, Naylor didn't have a lot of range.
No, he was a good hitter, and when he was on, he could do some stuff.
But he could dig out some balls, though. But
he could at times, but he's just he's not consistent in the field.
He struggled at the plate more than anything.
No, his bat was talented. He could drive in some runs, he could hit it out, but it's
Naylor?
Josh Naylor, yeah.
I'm looking at
his bat's better than his glove.
Okay, better than his glove, but I don't think it. I think Santana's bat is better than his.
No, Carlos isn't a better bat than Josh.
I thought Santana was a home run hitter.
Watching Naylor
in his career,
in the postseason, I think Naylor was our weakest batter, probably.
Yeah, because he wasn't in shape and he was injured.
That's
his problem.
He had strength. He could knock it out of the park.
No,
but it was just not often.
But that's Josh's problem.
Yeah.
He got overweight. They let him get way too overweight the last couple of years. He wasn't in shape, and he was injured.
Yeah, he
looked like Babe Ruth out there.
Yeah, a little bad diet choice. He did look a little
Babe Ruth after a couple binges.
Yeah, he was a part of the thick boy club.
Carlos is 38, 39 years old, and he's in better shape than Naylor. He's 12 years older than him.
Yeah, and I heard they had to get Naylor all new uniforms and stuff.
I like Josh Naylor. He was a good guy.
Cost him a lot of money.
They saved money in material.
Yeah, they were like, geez, Naylor.
So what are we predicting this year for the Guardians? Do you think the Guardians are going to make it back to the postseason? I
do not. I think they're going to be second or third, maybe.
Okay.
I think they're going to make it, but then I think they're going to make it. I think every year they get doubted, and every year they think they're not going to make it, and I think they do. I think Manzardo's going to break out this year. That kid is really, really talented.
They do have a lot of talent.
They do, and the thing is, they're never going to spend a lot of money. They just don't have a lot of money. I wish they did. Believe me, if Antonetti and Chernoff were anywhere except Cleveland, where they spent money, they would have won a World Series by now.
I just think the biggest question is replacing their second baseman.
I agree. My only thing about Andres is I loved his glove. He's a great guy. He developed. When he first came up, I'm like, who is this kid? Because he just didn't. But his stats at the end of last year, he only hit 254. The power wasn't as good, and I love him as a teammate. He's a great glove. He's one of the best gloves in the majors.
Jimenez. We're talking about
Andres Jimenez.
Yeah.
But his bat just dropped off so much, and they have a couple guys who can hit. I don't believe in Arias. I don't agree with them trying to give him one more chance, but I know why, because he's one of the top prospects. He's really talented. When he is on, the ball flies off his bat. I just don't like him. I think he's too inconsistent, but they're going to give him one more chance. And if it fails, they have Juan Brito, and Brito's one of their top prospects, and he's really talented. But
what about the shortstop?
Shortstop Rocchio's there. And Rocchio played. It took him a while, but in the postseason, he played really well last year, and he's been really good in the spring, too.
Yeah,
I think Rocchio's going to be fine. The only thing that's going to be up in the air is where's that power going to come with Josh not being in there. But, I mean, Jose's still really good. Lane Thomas played really well once he got going last year, and they transferred from Washington.
Shaw?
No.
The one that was the postseason.
You mean John Kenzie Noel?
Yeah, Noel.
I'm thinking
I just have
the other guy.
I love John Kenzie. I love his power. I got to see if John Kenzie can be consistent. I know he can hit it out of the park. I just don't want to turn into Oscar.
Who's the guy that hit the grand slam?
Lane Thomas.
No, not Lane Thomas. The other guy.
John Kenzie Noel.
I'm sorry, his name's like Shaw or something.
No, it's Lane Thomas. Outfielder, center fielder, traded for him from Washington. It's Lane Thomas. Yeah, it's Lane Thomas, their center fielder. He might provide some of the power, but I just, he's did it before, but it's been a couple years. It took him a while to get going last year when they traded for him from Washington.
So you think this is going to be a season where they play small ball more?
No, I think it's going to be a season
where
because they traded for Luis Ortiz from the Pirates, and eventually they're going to get Shane Bieber back. And if Gavin Williams can develop, I think they're going to try to go more on even the starting pitching, even than the bullpen last year. Because I know how good the bullpen was last year. I just don't know if it can keep it up.
We're going to try to get Paul Skeens.
No. Paul Skeens is going to go to the freaking Yankees in 3 years.
The Hondo boys.
$400 or $500 million. Because the Pirates will never pay him. There's no way.
Yeah.
He's that good, and he's unbelievable.
They got 2 pitchers over there in Pittsburgh just waiting to get out.
Yeah. Well, we got
both 100-mile-an-hour.
We got an exciting summer in Cleveland.
Yeah, I think they're going to be decent.
Yeah.
But
how are you watching the Guardians? By the way, that's my next question because I'm trying to figure that out.
They still haven't. They said near opening day they were going to announce what cable network they were going to be on. and they haven't yet. But
Okay.
there's either a package you can purchase. I think it's either $100 for the straight season, all the games you can broadcast it. You go to the MLB app, you have your sign in for the Guardians, you watch it, or I think it's like $10 or $20 a month to purchase it for the whole season. But they still
the MLB.
they still have not announced.
I found it. It's David Fry.
Oh, sorry, David Fry. David Fry.
I was thinking Shaw, but it wasn't. But David.
I only wasn't talking about David Fry.
We didn't have a
He's hurt
Shaw.
again.
From my opinion, he was kind of the bat.
You're thinking of maybe Straw.
That came out of nowhere. Yeah, he was a utility guy that made
Straw
it. He kind of
played
dropped
in the
off,
outfield.
but he's not going to come in till June or July.
But Lane Thomas did hit the grand slam.
Lane Thomas was the guy, but I was thinking of that Fry.
David Fry came out of nowhere. He's
His
like a minor
stick,
leaguer.
but he's injured.
Check out Noel.
He's
though.
injured.
This
so.
dude's big, man.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got some
big.
pop.
Yeah, he's big.
He just has to be consistent. That's the only thing about John Kennedy.
He's going
Because he
basically
swings and
DH.
misses a lot. So
He's just basically a DH, though.
he can play the outfield, though. He's got a good arm in the outfield, though.
Why? What? We need a DH?
Because he has to play somewhere. They're not going to let him DH the whole time. They're going to let Manzardo DH.
No, I forgot about him.
Manzardo's like the top prospect from the Rays they traded for from 2 years ago, and he's lefty. So they're going to switch him lefty-righty depending on the matchup each day. Or if Carlos doesn't play first, Noel can play the outfield, right field first, and Manzardo can play first too. He doesn't play there very often.
But exciting. I think you're right. I think we're gonna have a good summer.
Yeah, and they just traded Tyler Freeman for Nolan Jones, so that kind of took the second baseman job away even a little more. So Nolan Jones was a prospect they had a couple years ago. Played okay for the Rockies, but I guess they were just not really had it with Tyler Freeman. Like, he's not a bad guy, but they didn't want more of a logjam at second. So
Yeah.
they want another young outfielder, and they've had him before. He's one of their top prospects.
And the one guy I don't think I heard anybody say was my favorite guy and Cleveland's favorite guy, Jose Ramirez.
Jose. They chant the. Can you imagine living his life? They chant that guy's name every single day.
And he gets talked about.
Jose.
I love it.
Jose. I mean, come on, dude. Every single game.
I love
I love him, but I also wish he was a little bit more clutch. I think that's his little downfall.
I think he was clutch a lot last
I think
season.
he just has some streaks, Ryan, is what you're referring to.
Yeah,
more than
he has
anything.
some
He
streaks.
gets into a slump every now and again, a hitting slump.
Yeah.
But then when he gets hot, look out.
Oh, no, I know what you mean, though.
He's our guy that we look for in the postseason to come alive. And he does come alive. It's just not Aaron Judge kind of come alive.
I know.
It's not a Stanton kind of come alive.
Then again, look about who you're talking about.
My name's Jason McClellan. This is my brother Ryan McClellan and my dad Dan. And special guest today in studio as well is Zeke.
I'll become the family psychiatrist at halftime.
Yeah. Dad's like, don't worry, it's really early. I'm like, what the heck is
Calm
going
down,
on
dude.
today?
We're in the natty,
I
baby.
know I was in church when I seen the alert go off, and so I gave an extra hallelujah.
Yes, sir. So
We should feel very appreciative that he joined us today.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky.
it must be worth my time. And
You made such a big impact about your life with Jesus Christ and the way that you love God and the way you show it every day. And you're starting to see this, the younger generation that might have looked up to you when you played.
Yeah.
And now what they're doing with Ohio State just did, I'd like to just hear your
we
comment.
should all treat people like Danielle treats people.
Absolutely. Yeah, amen.
It would be a better place.